Planning Commission members, excuse me.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I think we're the only ones here so far, or we're the early ones.
Okay. I'm out of town, so hopefully you can see and hear me okay.
Yeah, you sound great.
Thank you.
Agreed. And just a reminder that we are live on YouTube. Just wanted to
Okay.
make note of that.
Okay.
No problem.
And just a reminder, Director, at about 10, I will turn the chairmanship over to Director Fluker. And I'll remain on, but likely, I mean, I will recuse during La Villa, and towards the end I can vote, but since that's at the end, he'll take over for that one since I'll recuse myself.
Great. And just for the record, after Centrovia, we'll move into public art.
Okay.
So, Vice Chair Fluker, if you're on, we will move right into public art following that. Thanks.
I don't know if he's on. I haven't seen him yet, but I emailed him, so he knows, but.
While we're waiting for some of our commission members to join, I'd also like to note for the record that our agenda items have changed order based on what was released on Monday. So rather than, we will go through the townhouse review, the lot splits, and then the only change that's been made is with design review. So the Euclid Avenue Design Review District will be first rather than in the middle. Thanks.
Do you want to get started? Or do we have enough members? Let me just see.
Yep.
I see the councilman, see Diane. I see August. Okay, I think we're good to go. Let's call the meeting to order.
And Tommy's here as well.
Oh, hi, Tommy. Good
Hi,
morning.
Lily.
All right, full group. Let's go.
I'll go ahead and read the preamble. Good morning, all. In compliance with notification requirements of Ohio's open meeting law and section 101.021 of the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Abstentions from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting has the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you, and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the, I believe there's someone unmuted. If you could please mute yourself. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. Call-in users can unmute by using *6. All meeting activities being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube. All requests to speak on a particular matter via our website and email have been considered. We've also received emails from those who have provided written comment on a particular matter. Thank you.
Michael, can you call the meeting to order, the roll?
Downing,
Present.
Fluker,
Present.
Curry,
Present.
McCray Scott,
Present.
Hall,
Present.
Slife.
Present.
Madam Chair, we do have a quorum.
Okay. To the director, you would like me to do the townhouse first and then go to design review, or did you want me to go to that first? Just clarifying.
Let's do these first two,
Okay.
and then we'll go into design review.
Okay.
And I will share that this project has been to our housing design review process in April and is now coming before the commission for review via the townhouse code for townhouse development.
Okay. First one is permanent parcel number 002. If you can go back just so I can read it. Sorry. 002-32-026 and -152. This is at 1862 and 1864 West 57th Street. Philip Talley is here from City Architecture. If you can go ahead and present.
Madam Chair, I must recuse myself.
Okay. Note a recusal from Commission Member Fluker.
Hi, my name is Philip Talley. I'm a designer with City Architecture, and I'm delighted to be here. I believe that these townhomes, we put a lot of work into designing these townhomes within the parameters of the townhouse code and within the neighborhood context, and I think they would be an excellent addition. The spot in yellow is the site that we're looking at. It's just south of Bridge and the Waverly townhomes to the north. The neighborhood has a mix of typologies, including single family. There's a school to the north. There's some There's some storefronts for retail. There's other townhome developments. Next slide. This is the existing site. There's a blighted home, and then there's a vacant lot. The home will be demolished, and these lots would be consolidated. And then in the background to the north, you can see again the Waverly townhomes. Next slide. Uh,
Sorry about that, having some technical difficulties here. I'll bring it right back up. There you go.
Thank you. These are the neighborhood context issues. In the lower left, you can see the townhome development to the north. And then along the bottom row, you can see the homes adjacent to the south. And then along the top row, you see to the northeast and the top left. And then the homes are directly across the street. So there's kind of a mix of newer construction, newer facade renovations, and existing homes, and then some multifamily and type homes to the northeast. Next slide. This is the plat. We have proposed 5 homes. There would be 3 in the front and 2 in the back. This is there, so there would be 2 buildings on the site. Next slide. Uh, Here we're showing that we did design within the parameters again of the townhome code, taking into account kind of the shared drive width. You can see the required setbacks in the red along the north, south, and west lines. We took into account kind of the street frontage. We tried to step back our homes kind of to transition from the Waverly townhomes to the north, which are right up against the right of way, and the single family homes, which have a yard to the south. Next slide. So you can kind of go through these slides fairly quickly. These are just the floor plan slides, and I'm willing to answer any questions you have. Each unit has been designed with a living space on the second floor, a den on the first floor, keeping in kind with the townhome code. There are 2 bedrooms on the top floor, and then each home has 2.5 bathrooms. Each home is 3 floors with a rooftop deck. Again, you can keep sliding home through the slides. Each unit has a stoop. Each unit has a 2-car garage that is hidden away from the street. So okay, we can pause here. These are the elevations. The lower left is actually the elevation that's going to be presenting on the street. We work to transition in size. I'm sorry, the development steps down in scale and density of the townhomes to the north to single family homes on the south. You can see on the lower left elevation, we tried to step down in height to just transition a little more cleanly between the sort of dense units to the north. We also looked at the scale of materials, keeping kind with the neighborhood, the glazing requirements of the townhouse code. Next slide. These are the units in the rear of the property, so most of this isn't visible directly from the street. But yes, we think these townhomes would be an excellent addition to the neighborhood. They were well received at HDRS, and we put a lot of time and work into making sure that we fit with the surrounding context. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Can you go back to the site plan? And then to my commission members, any questions or comments? I do have one. The townhouse code, as we're revised, does require a pedestrian walkway to the rear units and change of materials in terms of the sort of getting back to the rear units that for modification. So did that come up, and can you add that to this?
You're saying add walkways to the rear units from the street, and then the material.
Well, I mean, there's been a lot of discussion about the this code, and I believe, I don't know if it's passed yet to the director, but in the revisions to the code that were sent to council was the sort of an alteration that, especially for rear units or where there was this idea of the, vehicular court, if you will, that there be designated space for pedestrians or visitors who are coming back there on foot, right? And so I don't see that here, and just wondered if A, there's room to do that, and B, if that came up.
Yes, absolutely. We can make those changes. Improve pavings for the shared drive. We can absolutely make it more pedestrian friendly.
Okay, I'm fine if that goes to staff, but, to the director, if other commission members agree, I do believe that there needs to be a designated pedestrian walkway to the rear.
Madam Chair, you do have Director Wong has her hand raised.
Okay, Director Watt.
I'd like to invite Shannon Leonard or you, Maurice, to speak to that right now to clarify.
Shannon Leonard, can you repeat was the question regarding the pedestrian or when the townhouse code has been revised? Can you rephrase the question? I'm sorry.
Shannon, I believe Chair Curry wanted to know, when the revisions were sent back to council for the townhouse code for the initial hearing and adoption of the code, were the pedestrian access, revisions included in that?
So thank you. So the townhouse code revisions that were presented to you guys last year by Kyle have not gone in front of the council. There's been some back and forth, but since I've come back, that is a priority with Director Huang to get those revisions. They have to come back to you guys first to make sure the 3 recommendations that you made, including the pedestrian walkway, is included. And then they will have to go back to council. And so those revisions have been written. There's a draft done. And so we just need to make a few changes, and then we will be back in front of this commission to review those changes before they go back to council. But that'll be a priority, Chairwoman Curry.
Okay, but to the applicant, you are open to, adding that to the auto court in this iteration.
Absolutely, we can make those. We can make those changes.
Okay. Commission members.
I move approval with the addition of adding pedestrian walkways.
And I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
we did have Byron Bonamucci has his hand raised.
Is Byron with the applicant or the?
Yes, he's a client.
Okay. Byron?
Hi, Commissioners. I'm Byron Bonamici, representative of Cleveland Bricks. We're the developers for the project. I was just wondering for the walkway. In the past, stamped concrete had been acceptable. I was wondering if that would be acceptable in this case as well.
I'm going to have you work with staff. I think the most important thing is that will allow this to come back to staff, not to the commission, is that there actually be just a designated place so that it's safe and clear that pedestrians, how they walk, get back to the units in the back. So
Okay.
I think there's some flexibility in the material and you can work with staff, but it's really about a sort of thoughtful, designated way for visitors and residents to be able to walk there and not be walking on the roadway, if you will.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so appreciate it. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion from the commission members? If not, we'll take the roll and note an abstention or a recusal from Commission Member Fluker.
Downing,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Slife.
Yes.
Motion carries. So you can come back to staff with those changes. You don't need to come back to the commission unless you cannot come to agreement with staff, with the director. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. The next one is a lot split and consolidation, permanent parcel 007-12-069 and -037. This is at 2820 York Avenue. Jeffrey Calabrese here to present this one.
Yes, thank you very much. My name's Jeff Calabrese. I own 2820 York Avenue. The vacant lot behind us in 037 is owned by the land bank, and we've been working with them and got approval for this consolidation. So number one, aerial overview in the red square, that's the lot that's in scope. Some context on the neighborhoods, close community south of Lorraine. Everybody knows everybody on that street. We've been investing there since 2018. There were a lot of condemned units, abandoned units, and as those units came back online, that exposed a severe parking problem. So if you go on York Avenue, it's incredibly difficult to get a parking spot, especially for residents and tenants, which is why we want to build a single car garage on this vacant lot. So next slide, please. So ground photos both ways. So the land was not maintained. So we had our landscapers go and give a nice spring cleanup. We're friendly with our neighbors, Ed, on the right of the property. So that's a picture of the land, relatively flat. I talked to the garage builders, no issues pouring of footings or anything like that. Next slide, please. Perfect. So again, simple one car gable garage. There's a quote on the right. We're ready to move on this project as soon as we would get approval. And next slide, please. And this is the consolidation plat, not survey, that we had performed. And I believe this was approved by the land bank already, just as a note. So thank you again for having me and for the time. I'm open to take any questions that you may have.
Commission members, any questions or comments?
I move approval. Downing.
I second McCray Scott.
Oh, we have a motion and a second. Michael, can you call the roll?
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Life.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
So we have additional lot split and consolidation 006-22-125 and -155. This is 2144 and 2146 West 47th Street. Byron, you're here again for this one.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. And I apologize, I don't have many pictures. I'm hoping I kind of squeaked in with Mike Bozak on this one. I was hoping it was self-explanatory. Maury, I don't know if you're able to zoom in. We didn't discover this until after our survey was completed. It's incorrect on the county website, and title also didn't catch it when we purchased these two lots. The issue is for parcel B, we purchased it probably 7-8 years ago, and we just recently purchased parcel A probably 7-8 months ago, and then we decided on a development. So we were going to build a single family bungalow, aging in place bungalow, that's passed through HDRS and BZA. But since then, we have discovered, our surveyor discovered that this little triangle here in the corner of parcel A actually belonged to parcel B. And so unbeknownst to any parties involved ahead of that, so we just need to put that little triangle you see there as part of parcel A into parcel B. And just to give you an idea of the development, parcel B is a renovation. The house is staying the same. There's no garage, and it's fairly it's fairly sparse over there as far as development right now. So there's plenty of street parking, but parcel A does have an attached garage to the bungalow that comes off the alley there, and there's no other houses or driveways that come off that alley. It's the only one. But in order to make that work, again, which these were the dimensions we thought we were working with the entire time. It did go through HDRS, and it did go through BZA. We would just need this triangle here in the corner to go as shown, as opposed to how it is now.
So just to clarify, it's one parcel, you're splitting it into two.
It's two parcels. So the little triangle in the corner of parcel A, there's it's not much way for me to point it out.
Maurice, do you mind highlighting that little triangle on the top left part of parcel A?
Let's see, the little parcel. Oh, I see, right here. Is this what you're talking
South
about?
of that. No, south of that.
Yeah, south.
Right there, where
Right
L3,
there.
L4, L5.
Correct. That tiny triangle right there in the corner of parcel A currently belongs to parcel B. We didn't discover this until the survey was finally complete. So this is that little triangle is what we need to be a part of parcel A and no longer be a part of parcel B.
Okay, got it. But these were already, this was how they were being split. We're really dealing with that little triangle.
Correct.
Madam Chair, Maurice Rollins, I may have some pictures here from the Board of Zoning Appeals if you wanted to see them. I just don't, Byron, do you remember what date they were that you
No,
appeared?
it's fine. I think it's okay.
Okay.
I mean, I don't
I
think we
can
need.
confirm that it did go, I can confirm that it did go before a Board of Zoning Appeals and was approved.
Okay, no, I think it's fine. Unless
Madam
Commissioner.
Chair, I'm going to move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we call the roll?
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
Cray Scott,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Life.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate it, commission members.
Sorry for the added step there for you.
You're all right. Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to design review cases. I believe the first matter, if you can go to the next, is this is together. This is both the proposed demolition of the two-story apartment building, and I think the next case we're hearing together, which is the new construction as well. This is at 107-1 or 10713 and 10723 Cedar Avenue. So we're hearing these next two together. I'm going to swear in anyone who's going to speak to this, and I see the council president here, so I'm going to ask if he would like to speak after they present or before. I'm open to what he would like. But first, let me swear in anyone who's going to speak to this matter today. So I'm going to say the oath, and then I'm going to ask you to say your name and that you swear. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth for this matter now in hearing under the penalty of perjury?
Lane Griffin, I do.
Steve Jennings, I do.
Terrell Knight, I do.
Jeff
Okay,
Goldstein, I do.
I do. Okay.
Sam Messina, I do.
Dominic Durante, I do.
Anybody else? Council President, we don't need to swear you in, but we'll take it. Thank you. Would you like to speak now or after they present?
I'll just go ahead now, because if I get called away, I don't want to miss an opportunity.
Sure.
I support this project. I am asking for everyone to give it serious consideration and support it. I will tell you that I did bring them out to a couple of community meetings. We did, in full disclosure, get off on a little bit of a rocky start because this project was announced unbeknownst to the community. But since then, there have been several meetings. There's not a lot of activity in this area. Those row houses have been sitting abandoned for a while. I understand that there's a concern about if we're doing demolition by neglect. But I will tell you that that's the case with a lot of different, row houses and properties throughout the city of Cleveland. Last but not least, we do have a significant development going up on 105th and Cedar, which is a Meyer supermarket. And we're trying to bring more density and really activate that corner with workforce housing, with affordable housing, as well as market rate offerings in that area. So I support the project. I do have some concerns, as my partners over at Fairfax have attested to, with parking. And I do want to make sure that whatever this building is designed to do, which is really what I hope this committee will help us decide, really reflects the culture and heritage of that Cedar community, which we believe has not been reflected well in the last few years. So I really look forward to the robust conversation, but I do support this project. Thank you so much, Madam Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Council President. I was reminded that we do need to remove both of these items from the table as they were tabled previously. So I'll need a motion to remove from the table both the demolition as well as the design review case. So can I have a motion to remove the first one from the table, which was the proposed demolition?
Yes,
So
Madam
moved.
Chair. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Can you call the roll?
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Blythe.
Yes.
Motion carries. I'm also going to remove the second one, the design review case, from the table as well. We will take two separate motions in the end. So can I have a motion to remove the design review from the table?
I move to remove it from the table, the design review case.
Second that one.
Can you call the roll?
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Blythe.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. All right, take it away. I think we'll have you guys do the full presentation before we discuss both matters.
Great. Well, I just want to start by thanking Councilman Griffin for that word of support and kind introduction. So my name's Jeff Goldstein from Acre. I'm going to introduce the project briefly and introduce our development team as well. So I have with me Les Manx, who's the founder and managing partner of Acre, Sam Messina, and Brent Zimmerman. Together, the four of us make up the day-to-day development team of this project. And I have the pleasure of also introducing the team of Dominic Durante, Steve Jennings at LDA, who are architects who put together this presentation, and Elise Yablonsky and Casey Petritis from University Circle Incorporated, who have also been wonderful partners and members of the team as well. So super excited to be here. We appreciate the opportunity to come before you guys again and present this project. As Councilman Griffin said, we've, since we were last here, we've had some very positive dialogue and conversations with constituents and neighborhood groups. We've had the opportunity to present at his Ward 6 meeting. We've had the opportunity to present to the University Circle Internal Architecture Board, the Euclid Corridor Design Review, and most importantly, the Fairfax Neighborhood Group. The dialogue has been positive. We feel like we have fostered great working relationships with these groups, and we look forward to bringing this project to this wonderful neighborhood. This is going to be our first project, hopefully in Cleveland. And we couldn't be more excited to work in the University Circle neighborhood. The education, the arts, the science, everything we look for in a neighborhood. This development is going to be very transit oriented. Our hope is to activate this area, just as Blaine Griffin said, with pedestrian streetscapes and alternative modes of transportation other than cars. best-in-class amenity package. And I think you'll see as we get through the presentation that we've really designed a wonderful project. So from here, I'm going to ask the LDA team to kind of go through the history of the site.
Great, thanks, Jeff. This is Steve Jennings with LDA Architects. We did present this previously, so the slides that were previously shown, we'll try and be brief on those and focus more on the newer slides. If there's something that you'd like us to, take a little bit longer on or come back to later, just let us know. The first two slides document our research into the history of the site and the neighborhood. We'll be working with Fairfax Renaissance Development Corporation to incorporate the history and story of the community into a public art piece that's integral to the project site design. So that's those first two slides. The current slide shows the basically the street elevations of the original, historic buildings there that have all been demolished except for the one in the top middle, the townhomes that exist currently. Next slide. So here you can see the surrounding immediate context. The triangle is highlighted, for our parcel with the, primarily parking and green space and the 6-unit townhome on the south side facing Cedar. Next slide. Here's the Cedar elevation of that existing building with some interior photos. And we did take a site visit through the building with City of Cleveland's planning staff so that everybody was able to, see the building themselves. Next slide. One of the this kind of highlights some of the problematic issues with the existing building. Aside from general renovations, the layout is especially problematic. It's just from a different time period. You can also see the depth of the building. It's relatively deep, which really cuts into the amount of the site that's available for new construction. Next slide. Now here are some interior photos of some of the materials we'd like to salvage. So we do have a nice library area proposed in the new construction, which we think would be ideal for some of the wood paneling, wood columns, and some of the trim that could be salvaged and used into the new construction. On the exterior, on that top left photo, there's some stonework that we could salvage from the building as well and incorporate into the site elements. Items that would not be used in our project, we could still salvage and provide those to others for use. Next slide. And then this slide will let Elise Jablonski with UCI discuss the timeline of the site acquisition.
Thanks, Steve. We wanted to address a question that came up at the last hearing after the discussion ended regarding UCI ownership of the site. UCI has owned these row house properties since 1989, and we actively leased them for nearly 30 years. We made significant capital investments and completed regular repair and maintenance throughout the years that they were occupied. We actually operated these properties at a loss from 2000 to 2017 in an effort to retain and activate this corridor. As has already been noted, UCI ownership was preceded by decades of demolition on this site and on this corridor. These row houses specifically were further orphaned by city-approved demolitions that moved forward in 2015 under prior owners. We made the determination to stop leasing the property in 2017 due to the condition of the roof and building masonry. The cost for these repairs exceeded our available resources, and we knew we needed a development partner to reactivate the entire site. Our current development team first reviewed the row house property to evaluate the potential for demolition. As was just noted by Steve, and I think will be further discussed and highlighted, the renovation was not deemed feasible due to the level of investment needed, not just in the building systems, but also improvements needed to address market demands. I also want to note that we have been working alongside our development partners to ensure that the proposed development is responsive to engagement from City Planning Commission, Cleveland City Council, Fairfax Renaissance Development Corporation, and the broader community through those venues. Rather than demolition, the primary concern we've heard regarding the physical form of the site has been the activation of Cedar Avenue alongside questions about affordability. And the development as proposed, we believe, has the most potential to activate Cedar. And also the development team will highlight their the program for affordability of the development. Thank you. We can go to the next slide unless there are questions on this one.
And this slide highlights some of the renovation cost. Not sure if Jeff or Sam would like to speak in detail to that at all.
Yeah, Steve, I can just jump in real fast. So like Elise pointed out, a study was done to first determine, whether we could renovate and restore these townhomes. There's always going to be issues when working with old properties of being able to bring them up to modern standards. And specifically, what is important to us as a development team is a focus on environmentally conscious investment in construction. So it was determined that the cost to bring these to market would both not provide an efficient product for that would be demanded in this area, but also would require further maintenance down the line because they just would not be built to modern standards. So one of the things that we've worked on specifically with the Fairfax community and Denise Van Leer and her team is her ask of us to replace and reactivate Cedar. That was one of the most important pieces of feedback that we received, and we really took that. The LDA team have designed 6 townhomes to be replaced on Cedar Avenue. These are going to be LEED Gold certified homes that will meet all of the current demands for market conditions via construction, and we hope they will last, a further 100 years and be part of the fabric of this neighborhood going forward. You can go to the next slide.
All right, the next 2 slides are very similar. They're both from the City of Cleveland Master Plan, called the 2020 Citywide Plan. So these both, it just happens that our site is right on that border between University Circle and Fairfax. So it really appears in both of those plans for both communities. But in both of those, this site is highlighted as a housing opportunity for new construction. Just note that in the legend there is a separate item for housing opportunities for rehab, which was not noted for our site. So it was designated previously for a new construction site. And you can go to the next slide. Next slide, yeah. This slide shows the ownership of some of the surrounding parcels. Obviously people know there's a lot of institutional parcels around, but specifically noting even the area to the south of our site, which appears to be more residential, has become owned mostly by institutional, like Case Western and Cleveland Clinic. Next slide. This is the current zoning code use map. So you'll see our site and surrounding sites are all currently zoned for commercial use, not a single family or 2-family type of residential use. Next slide. Now this is a more general overview of the area, highlighting some of the main circulation paths, as well as some of the exciting new development to the south of our site, highlighting the Opportunity Corridor and New Economy Neighborhood and Innovation Square as well. The next slide, I think, zooms into those. Yeah, so these are the area immediately to the south of our site, which we think is very exciting, and we're really at the beginning of the redevelopment of this area. Next slide. So these slides show the current progress in those master plans for those developments. To the left side of the slide is the Innovation Square. with the Meyer that's already under construction. And then on the right is the New Economy neighborhood, which is immediately south of our site. Next slide. This is development that's also under construction to the north side of our site for the Circle Square property. The one thing to point out here is the emphasis on calming traffic and pedestrian friendly design. Both things that we want to incorporate into our project as well. And we'll be working with the city in order to reduce lanes on definitely Stokes and possibly Cedar as well. Next slide. It's just a slide showing that project under construction. The next two slides show some of the context photos of the surrounding neighborhood. Again, largely institutional buildings. These were on the previous presentation as well. Next slide. This is our proposed site plan, which we can also get into when we go through the new construction proposal. The thing to point out in regards to demolition is you can see where the existing building footprint is highlighted on this plan. Going back to what Jeff mentioned about our discussions with Fairfax and really we're focusing on that Cedar frontage. The existing building is currently 120 feet wide facing Cedar. With our new townhome design and the larger building together, we have 228 of total frontage on Cedar. So we really increased the presence on Cedar, which we think will really help the goals of Fairfax in the neighborhood. And this is the last slide in regards to demolition, just recapping the City Planning Commission's criteria for action for demolition. Not sure if anyone needs to go through that at all, but it's there if you need it.
Madam Chair, do we need to review this in detail, or is it pretty much understood by the commission?
I think we can go through really just quickly the design again, the exterior, but you can really go more quickly through.
Okay, so we don't need to address the criteria for demo?
Well, I think that the staff will do that.
Fair enough.
And I think they did prior, but we heard it before, but I think staff will, but if our preference is that you go through the whole presentation and the design again, but we've seen this twice, so you can go through the rest pretty quickly.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah, Steve, why don't you just go ahead? Let's just skip to kind of the newer.
Is this the
townhome slide.
Yeah.
We're about to go into the new design now, right, Steve? You have the next slide is start of the new.
Okay, yeah. So I guess this is the site. I'm sorry. So it's the site plan is it's in there twice. Sorry.
Yeah. So okay. So this is then we'll begin the new design presentation. This is Dominic Durante with LDA. Good morning, everyone. The building is the main building design is addressing Stokes Boulevard and Cedar Avenue, and so the gray shape is the bigger building of about 250 units that goes along the length of Stokes, and then the townhomes are on the Cedar Avenue, and that would be on the western side of the Cedar Avenue, and then you can see on the eastern end of Cedar Avenue towards Stokes, then our bigger building turns the corner. So the combination of both buildings deals with Cedar Avenue as Steve mentioned, and we're basically the whole frontage is a building frontage, but we have a nice corner park on Stokes and Cedar, and then there's also a curb cut that allows us to have access into the site. It's also gives us our fire lane for firefighting on the west side of the building, and access to parking. We'll have one additional curb cut on 107th. Part of the idea of recognizing the neighborhood and how do we go about doing that, we've provided opportunities on the site with both corners of Stokes, north and south, with these corner parks. We look forward to working with Denise and Fairfax and working out the best way to create some site public art, some way of recognition, and to be yet to be determined, but we definitely want to incorporate that into our site planning and design. The other thing that we mentioned, which we think is really important, we'd really like to work with the city on trying to do some traffic calming crosswalk improvements. So at Stokes Boulevard, we are asking for one of those lanes of traffic that moves people south and up to the Heights to become parking. And we'd also desire to do the same on Cedar Avenue, so that our site would be bordered by parallel parking on all three sides, 107th, on Cedar, and on Stokes. Next slide, please. The pictures on the right are some things that Fairfax has already done with public art and recognition of the history of the neighborhood, which we'd like to again build upon that on our site. To the left, lower left, is an image of the interior of what we're providing with this building. There's a large area of common space for the residents, and we also want to make that common space to various configurations of bigger meeting spaces and other things that would be open to the neighborhood, scheduled and available for the neighborhood to use this common space too. We have a lot of space and a lot of cool things that would be going there that I think would be attractive to the community at large. Jeff, on the top left was the affordability. We are proposing the 12 affordable units. Do you want to speak to that a little bit, Jeff?
Sure. Yeah, so this is directly addressing comments from Councilman Griffin and Fairfax at large. I've put together just a simple table so that everyone on the commission can see where our rents will be situated amongst our competitors within the market. And we believe at these rents, we will have, some of the most affordable new product in the city of Cleveland. Furthermore, we will dedicate 12 income restricted units to be determined levels of AMI, but no greater than 80% as a cap. And just looking at the chunk rents of these furnished studios that we're proposing, roughly 2/3 of them will be affordable at someone making 80% AMI. One of the other types of feedback we got was some concern about this turning into more of a hotel or a short-term rental or an Airbnb, if you will, type of environment. That is absolutely not the goal of the development team. Acre is an owner-operator of 10,000 plus units across the country. We have a professional property management firm that we are a partner in that will be managing this property, and it will not be short-term rentals at all. Any questions on the affordability? If not, we can go to the next slide. So this is another.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
Good. So this is just another slide that we put together that might be new in the presentation, but it's certainly a thesis that Acre takes very seriously, and that is responsible development with a focus on environmentally conscious products and the attainment of LEED Silver or better. So I just put a little snippet of our scorecard to show to the commission that we are on track to achieve a minimum of LEED Silver in this development. We're aiming to use as many sustainable and local materials as possible. We've committed to electrical infrastructure in place for 100% of our parking spaces to support EV charging, either now or in the future as demanded. And as Dominic kind of showed on the overall site plan, we are including ample green space for our residents and the community members to use to be outside when it's nice. And then just to reiterate on the 6 townhomes, I know I mentioned this earlier, but those will be designed LEED Gold for homes. So they will be at an even greater environmentally conscious standard than our multifamily development. If you go to the next slide.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. So this to begin, we'll go through a series of perspective views. This is the building, as you see on Stokes Boulevard looking south. It's a larger building with 2 towers, and then the base of the tower will be our common space. On the right side will be common space for the residents. On the left side at the base will be more apartments. So the 2 bottoms to the towers will be slightly different in function. In the middle is a gap, and then that's going to be our outdoor recreation space with a pool. You'll see this as we go through the slides. Next slide, please. This would be a view from the north point looking to the south. Again, that nice corner outdoor space. There's also some space under roof inside of that as you go towards the building and before you get actually in the building. So we have a series of different outdoor spaces, and that would be serving the residents and as we said, open to the community as well. Next slide, please. This would be a view of the building from the south along Stokes. Again, the corner has this green space, this pocket park. Next slide, please. This would be a view looking west, looking from the west towards the University Circle Case Western Reserve campus. You can see between the 2 buildings is that outdoor recreation space, which I spoke of with the pool, and there'll be outdoor kitchen and such. The building itself is designed in a way where the floor plan sort of determines the exterior shape and massing of the building. The furnished studio apartments are in the middle of each tower, and then bookending the tower will be the larger 1 and 2 bedroom apartments, and they have the full balconies and more glass, and the furnished studios in the middle have Juliet balconies, and then we're bringing in a terracotta material. That sort of brown orange color is actually a terracotta panel, which will have as a rain screen contemporary sort of detailing. So the building itself is made up of materials of terracotta and then glass and metal, aluminum, two colors of aluminum, and a lot of windows, floor to ceiling windows pretty much. Next slide, please. A lot of green space will continue around the building and move its way up through to the pool deck on the top in the gap. Next slide, please. This is then along Cedar. We'll have a series of slides that will start to walk west along Cedar, this being the corner of Stokes and Cedar, and you can see the townhomes to the far left. Next slide, please, just to show you the activation of the Cedar Avenue streetscape. Next slide, please. And then this would be kind of an elevation perspective of Cedar Avenue with our larger building on the right and the 6 townhomes that will take basically the rest of the length of Cedar Avenue. Next slide, please. I think there's one more view from the 107th and Cedar looking towards Stokes. Next slide. The materials of the townhomes. This is from the parking lot side looking at the back of the townhomes and the west side of the big tower. Next bigger building. Next slide, please. Same materiality will be used for the townhomes as the larger Stokes building. There's a bird's eye view. Next slide. Lillian, I don't know if you want to go through the floor plans or not.
No,
Okay.
I think we're good. I would like to leave some time for discussion. So
Sure.
maybe if you could, Maurice, leave it on the previous one, the aerial view, while we open this up. Yeah, this one's fine. And so before we go on to other speakers, Director Wong is going to read the demo code, and then we will kind of open it up. I know there are a few other speakers from the Fairfax and others. So let's start with Director Wong and then staff also. I know the administration also has a recommendation, and then I'll open it up.
Thank you, Chair Curry. And I will go ahead and read the demolition code pursuant to section 341.08. And actually, it was helpful to have it on the screen. So Maurice, if you wouldn't mind scrolling to that slide, which should be the slide right before the schematic review. Our code states that the following factors should be considered in the commission making its decision for any demolition. And there are 7, considerations. 1, the architectural and historic significance of the subject building or structure. 2, the significance of the building or structure in contributing to the architectural or historic character of its environs. Maurice, it might be the slide right before this. Going up. Let me take a pause. Okay, there we go. So I just read number 2. Number 3, in the case of a request to move a building or other structure, the relationship between the location of the subject building or structure and its overall significance. 4, the present and potential economic viability of the subject building or structure, given its physical condition and marketability. 5, the presence of conditions on the subject property that are dangerous or detrimental to the immediate area. 6, the degree to which the applicant proposes to salvage and facilitate reuse of structures for demolition. 7, the design quality and significance and appropriateness of the proposed reuse of the property. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Do you, Director Wong, did you have any comments as well, or would you like to hold those?
I'll defer to Fairfax first. Are we combining both items for the recommendation now? Okay. Fairfax, Terrell, if you're on the line, if you wouldn't mind going first, I can go right after you.
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having us here today. Thank you so much to UCI, ACRE, Rust Belt, LDA, and all other partners who played a pivotal role in making sure this project can come to fruition and be able to present it to the group today. FRDC, my name is Terrell Knight from Fairfax Renaissance Development Corporation. I am the Economic Development Manager here, and I want to express that we are in support of this project. This project, I think, will be something that will continue to edify and reactivate Cedar Avenue in the neighborhood in totality, as we're doing the Meijer grocery store in Innovation Square, and as well as we're under development with New Economy neighborhood. We are in great support of this project, and we would like to see it move forward through the commission as we begin to break ground and et cetera. One condition or one concern that we do have with the project is parking, given that 107th Street is very, very busy as is today. And then Cedar Avenue being very busy between 105 and Stokes as well, with there being Cleveland Clinic police officers who are directing traffic and navigating that way. So we want to make sure that parking is identified and then giving an opportunity to take care of the parking for residents that are currently there and residents that will be there, as well as the new additional traffic that will be coming with the development of Innovation Square and New Economy neighborhood. But lastly, like I said, I'll reiterate once more is that we are in support of this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Terrell. Appreciate it. All right, to Director, to staff for your comment, and then I'm going to open it to commission members.
Absolutely. Thank you, Terrell. Thank you, Chair Curry. To the commission members, first of all, I just want to appreciate the team for your, every time you've come back, there's been more information, and especially for utilizing the 2020 Cleveland Citywide Plan. It's good practice for all presenters to refer to these planning efforts that have been adopted by Planning Commission. So I'll divide my comments into 2 sections, one first on the demo and then second on the schematic review. Regarding the demo, I have made comments before on the Planning Commission that, these townhomes, I've deliberated many hours and days about the townhomes and the project, and I care deeply for them. And while I wish I could turn back time and reverse the trajectory of this whole, the whole triangle, I think what we are left with is townhomes that have lost its context. Regarding number 2 of the demolition code, the significance of the building or structure contributing to the architectural or historic character of its environs. while it in itself has deep historic significance, we've seen the sort of pervasive demo around. And I think secondly, the call to question is around economic viability and physical condition, which the commission should consider with regard to the existing floor plan of the townhomes. And then moving into the schematic review of the proposal, the new construction, I have a few comments. Ultimately, I believe that the benefits of the new construction, outweigh the cost of demolition. First is that it aligns with the city's 2020 plan, and it abuts with what will soon be the new economy neighborhood in Fairfax's master plan. And these strategies align for us as a department. 2, transit-oriented development is a goal of ours. People over cars is something that Mayor Bibb has discussed. I wanted to point out as I was looking at this that, it is 1 block away from 2 high-frequency lines, the Healthline BRT, and then the upcoming Thrive 105 corridor BRT, which is under, moving into the next phases of preliminary design. It's also a 10-minute walk from the Cedar University Rapid Station and the bus depot with the turnarounds. I believe that a progressive parking plan does make sense here, and that we've had many discussions with the developers to protect the residential parking on the side streets, East 107th and 108th, 6th, I believe it is. I think that adding this edge and new infrastructure on Stokes Boulevard may contribute to traffic calming on Stokes Boulevard, which can get really fast and really furious. I'll make 2 more comments. I'll try to be brief. Third, product mix. The addition of several 3-bedroom townhomes on Cedar Avenue is a direct response to a desire to see more product that can accommodate families. And so, having that schematic as a part of the design is, has been a great addition on Cedar. And then finally, adding the 250 residents and a support for the grocery store to me is kind of one of the most important factors in addition to transit-oriented development. We're putting a regional supermarket in an area that has not had food security for decades. And we've seen how difficult it has been to support grocery stores over the last year. And I think it would do a disservice to Fairfax, the Innovation Square, and the neighborhood really if we aren't able to do all that we can to support the grocery store here. So with that, I'll share that I believe the benefits outweigh the costs of the demo, and I believe this project should move forward.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Commissioner Fluker, if your hand raised, you'll go first, and then additional commission members.
I'll be brief. I'm going to make 5 points. Number 1, this process has caused me to think a little differently about how development goes on in this city, especially in Black and brown communities. I would like to go on the record to state that no one's refuting that these townhomes have fallen in a state of disrepair, but Ms. Jablonski indicated that they've owned these for 30 plus years, and as a property owner, it's your responsibility to maintain a property. So what this tells me is, since I can own a property, I can allow it to fall in disrepair because that's your responsibility. It's called maintenance. If I didn't replace my roof and windows in the house,
dogging them,
I would be in the same place. Secondly, you talk about the cost of renovation of this townhomes. I would like to remind everyone, as we begin to start planning in Black and brown communities, the lift will always be heavier. The cost will always be more because it's called deferred maintenance, period. It's no more complicated than that. And I'm not talking about buildings. I'm talking about the impacts of redlining. Third, and most importantly, and this is a message to Ms. Jablonski and UCI, you have an REI, a diversity and inclusion and engagement problem in your organization. And I'm not talking about this project. It's bigger than that. It's your relationship to Fairfax, Huff, Glenville, and East Cleveland. You got to get better. We wouldn't be here if we didn't insist that you went to the community to have a conversation. And I'm sure everyone on this call is fortunate. And lastly, and most importantly, I understand these townhomes are out of context, but let's just think, if we will, we go around the corner of Stokes Boulevard, and we see the townhomes that are still intact, out of place, but I'm sure through generational wealth or someone advocating for those homes, they're still there. And they offer the most unique housing living environment in Cleveland. And and one more thing, I have a problem with what the developer indicated as providing affordable housing. If you're going to provide affordable housing, I insist that you spread it among the classes of units and not just the efficiencies or the micro units, because that's not access to all. That's just carving out your least expensive product and pawning it off on folks. So I just wanted to be clear. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So to commission members, any other comments? We are going to actually start with the first item, the demolition, and ask that the commission members have any comments about additional discussion about the first item, which is the proposed demolition. And then I'm going to ask for a motion from the commission, if not, to the first item. Commission members, anyone?
Madam Chair, I'll move approval of the demolition. I agree that this is a challenging one, but to Director Wong's comments about the benefit of the end product, I agree with that, and obviously the demolition is the first step towards that. So I'll move.
All right, we have a motion to approve the demolition. Do I have a second?
Second, Paul.
And we have a second from Stami Paul. So with that, we're going to ask for any further discussion, and then we will take the roll. Okay, Michael, can you take the roll, please?
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
No.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
No.
Paul,
Yes.
Blythe.
Yes.
Motion carries. And so now we need to discuss the second one, and this is the schematic approval of the design. Noting the comments that when you come back is that there would be further discussion with the community as well around parking. And so that was raised really in terms of sort of thinking about it and more discussion before you come back. And so we're on this sort of design. Do I have any further discussion or a motion?
But my comment, I'm sorry, go ahead, Diane.
This is Councilman Slife. Go ahead, Councilman.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was that. My comment is actually less about the site plan and design and kind of more about the wider area. When Director Wong noted that the Cedar University Rapid is a 10-minute walk away, that's a pretty treacherous 10-minute walk of playing Frogger trying to cross streets. And I think that we as the city need to really kind of prioritize this area for not the car. And as a West Sider, I'll say that this place was overbuilt for cars and meant to confuse me as I'm trying to get to Cleveland Heights. So there's a lot of work we can do on the built environment here.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a point, and I'm going to ask that the design team and the developers in the community look closely at those two corners where there's a proposed park. I'm not convinced that's the best place for that location because it's a busy intersection and people aren't going to use it. You don't feel protected. People don't use public spaces if they don't feel safe. And I think with all the traffic buzzing through there, it will not feel, in my opinion, it will not feel like an environment that one would use. Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chair, we have a couple of hands raised. We have Jeff Goldstein and also Elise Jablonski.
Okay. Well, I've actually closed the public portion, so we need a motion, if possible, from commission members. This is on the design review. Do I have a motion for schematic approval?
Grace, would you mind moving the slide to the next one so we can see the case number? Thank you.
Okay. Any commission members want to make a motion for the or discussion? Any other questions?
I don't have any other questions. I'll make a motion.
Okay. We have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, could we be clear on the motion, what exactly the motion is for?
The motion is for the schematic design approval of the project with noting some of the comments from design review as well as looking at parking. Additionally.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. If there's no additional comment or questions, can we take the roll? Michael?
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
No.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
No.
Paul,
Yes.
Slythe.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for this matter. I know you've been back a few times, and I really thank also commission members for the discussion and you know, the really the rigorous deliberations that we've had over the past 3 meetings. So thank everyone for this. And then I'm turning over the chair to the vice chair. Commission Member Fluker is going to take it from here. I will remain on. I need to recuse myself from a couple, but he will take over here and swear in and lead from here. Thank you.
Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Be patient with me. This is new for me. The next agenda item is EC 2022-017, proposed demolition of a 2.5-story residential structure on 2106 East 81st Place. Who's here to speak on behalf of this project?
I am Valencia White with Cleveland Demolition Bureau.
So you're the city of Cleveland. I don't have to swear you in. Okay, proceed, please.
Okay, I guess we can go to the next slide. So I want to say good morning to the commission and thank you for being available to present. As mentioned previously, this is the property that we're proposing for approval. Next slide. It is a 2.5-story residential structure. The current owner is Daisy Jean Davis. It has been vacant for over 2 years. It was condemned on April 10th of 2019. Since the condemnation notice, we have received 1 complaint. The outstanding taxes are $1,386.36. Council President Blaine Griffin is in support of this demolition, and our plan is to clear the land, grade it, and seed it with grass. Next slide. So the red dot indicates the property as it relates to the community. You can see Euclid Avenue, Carnegie, and Cedar Avenue as the streets surrounding this property. Next slide. A more context view of the property. It is actually on a dead-end street, and you can see that there are current vacant lots on the property. Next slide. The internal and external photos that you are going to see were provided by one of our asbestos surveyors, Nilla Environmental Group. The photos were taken on April 20th of 2021. So I apologize if some of the photos are blurry. And these are just the external photos. What you're looking at now is the driveway, the backyard, the porch, and the siding. Next slide. The surrounding properties, the property to the north is the top property, 2102 East 81st Street. It's owned by Gene and Donald David, and the bottom property is located on the south at 2108 East 81st Place, and it's owned by Cynthia Wyatt. Next slide. So these are properties that are located across the street, and they are all actually owned by Daisy Jean Davis. And the bottom photo shows a vacant lot that's also owned by Miss Davis. The yellow and brown house has an outstanding tax bill of $3,898.78. However, the remaining properties are all current on their property taxes. Next slide. These are internal photos of the first floor of the proposed property for demolition. Next slide. The top left photo shows the stairway leading to the second floor, and these are the remaining photos are interior photos of the second floor. Next slide. That's the stairway and the third floor interior photos. Next slide. Stairway to the basement and the basement photos. And you can see on the ducts in the basement that there's asbestos wrap that will have to be removed prior to demolition. Next slide. So again, our final goal is to clear the land and grade it in accordance to our city specifications. And I'll open the floor for any questions you may have.
I move approval, Downing.
I second McCray Scott.
Michael, please call the roll, please.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Paul. Life.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good day.
The next item I have on my list is the Northeast Design Review of Gold Coast Lofts. It's item number NE 2022-011. Who's here to speak on behalf of the applicant?
Hi, this is Greg Soltis from RDL Architects.
Okay, anyone else?
Alex.
With RDL Architects.
Michael, do I have to swear these guys in?
Yes, we normally swear in the design review applicants.
Okay.
This is Greg Zuka with Metro Health.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth for this matter now in hearing under the penalty of perjury?
I do.
I do.
Okay, proceed, gentlemen. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to review our project. This is the Gold Coast Lofts, which will be on the southeast corner of East 105th Street and Superior Avenue. And this is an extension of a lot of planning work that we've done with Famicos in the past. And the overall intent of this project is to begin to restore the urban fabric at this intersection and set the tone for new builds moving forward to help reinvigorate this corridor and kind of make this almost like a downtown for the neighborhood. Next slide. This map shows the location with regard to the neighborhood and the surrounding neighborhoods. It's that yellow circle. Next slide. This shows the site that we're working with right at the intersection of 105th and Superior in more detail. Next slide. These are some context photos that show the site. You can see that it's an empty site for the most part. There is some context still remaining in photo number 5. You can see what is now called the Janelle Building, which is adjacent to the site on Superior Avenue. Outside of that, there's a greenhouse or an old building that's kind of like a little warehouse building that I think still needs to be removed. But otherwise, the site's empty. Next slide. in looking at like the historic context of the neighborhood, as well as a little bit of new stuff, what's important is number one, you can see there's an old Carnegie Library down the street next to a little mixed-use building that's kind of typical of, you know, these walk-up buildings. And then there's a house nearby. Across the street, there's a school that has been converted to senior housing. And we took a lot of cues from these buildings. There's also a market that has been built across the street. You can see that number 4, which is great because it's starting to activate the corridor in this intersection. And then slide number 5 shows a bank probably built in the late 70s, early 80s that is on that corner. Next slide. This is the historic context of the building. And as you can see, you know, the neighborhood at its full build out, and north is to the right, by the way, was a very active corridor. It used to be called the Gold Coast because of the shopping opportunities on this street. Things to notice that we took cues from were number one, the red footprints on this map are buildings that are masonry buildings. So we did take note of that. And then you could also notice that the majority of the buildings are not very wide because this was built during a time when people walked a lot of places or took the streetcar. So it was a much more human scaled environment. We did also try to reflect that in our design to humanize the space and the street. Next slide. This is a good view of the corridor. I would say, you know, just because something's, I love old buildings and, you know, spaces that were designed when people walked places, because then, you know, people thought about that because that's how they got places. But I would note that the sidewalks are a little bit narrow on the street. So we did try to address that in the design. Other than that, though, you can see, you know, the character of the neighborhood really reflected in this image. Next slide. And this is the building that used to occupy the site that we're building on. So you can see it had a lot of retail down on the bottom and residences above, that it was a brick structure, very, again, pedestrian oriented. Next slide. Some concepts that we were working with in the design were, you know, in thinking about like, what is the DNA of a place? What is the DNA? And that is in regards to like, you know, a good walkable community based on the human body and its scale, also the culture and the people of a place. And so with that, we used primary colors as our color palette because red, yellow, blue are also the basis of all the other colors in with pigments. And then we also looked at cubism, which is you know, derived from African art, as to kind of try to reflect architecturally, you know, the culture of the neighborhood in a contemporary way. Next slide. As part of this, we did a lot of review of planning efforts in the past up until current. And so we did review the Superior 5 plan in detail, which was headed by the City Planning Commission when Director Collier was heading it up. We also looked at the My Glenville Master Plan in detail. Next slide. So here are some that we did like some summaries from those plans. So these are some summaries from the Superior 5 plan. One of the things you can see though is this intent to kind of create a downtown, if you will, at 105th and Superior. And you can see, you know, new mixed use buildings with bigger footprints at that intersection. Next slide. And again, here from the My Glenville plan, you can see the same sort of things. I think like when, you know, when people look at something and are trying to solve a solution, a lot of people, especially that are trained in planning and architecture, will come up with similar solutions because the solutions make themselves apparent through good analysis. Next slide. And then this was something that we had worked on with Famicos, using those two plans to really look at the neighborhood through the lens of more of a developer, which was the intent that Famicos had when looking at the neighborhood in more detail to see what could be built, what should be built, and what that might look like. We even did this from a financial perspective. And so you can see it was a transit-oriented development plan, and we again had taken, you know, our cues from the existing planning efforts that were in progress and previous planning efforts to create a new downtown here and reinvigorate both the Superior and 105th. Next slide. This is an aerial that we did envisioning for the neighborhood, what that could look like in the future. And you can see at the corner of 105th and Superior to the left, that's the area that we're working with. Next slide. One of the things that was really important is to think about the horizontal dimension. And, you know, in doing that, you know, there are really 3 horizontal dimensions that we really looked at. And one is the scale of the street, which around 330 feet is like the furthest distance that the human eye can really start to see objects in motion. Most of the blocks and most older cities, including ours, are around 300 feet. Then there's the scale of the building, which is about 50 or 60 to 70 feet. Which is the scale where you could start to see detail, and then the scale of the unit, which is even smaller than that. So we did pay attention to that in this design process. Next slide. And then we also looked at the sidewalk and the zones in the sidewalk to really try to connect the building to the street in a meaningful way and think about the sidewalk as a place and leaving enough space and paying attention to those zones so that it would be a place that people feel comfortable in, the building feels connected to, and it'd be more useful to people. Next slide. Is there some, oh
Greg,
yes, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry to interrupt you. We're going to lose a quorum at 11, although this is great, and we'd love to hear how you got there.
Okay, we'll go faster. Okay. You got it. You got it. Okay. These are just some sketches that we did for thinking about that frontage space in front of the building. We've kind of settled on option 2B. We're going to come back to you with more detail for our final approvals anyway, so we can go to the next slide. This is the site plan. So you'll see it is one building, but we're trying to make it feel like more than one building. And what we did was we pushed, and if you go to the next slide, yeah, there we go. Thank you. So you can see like there's a setback. We set the building back 12 additional feet from the property line on 105th, and we set it back 18 feet from the property line on Superior Avenue. That was intentional because the sidewalks are really narrow onto 105th and not the greatest on Superior either at this place. And if this is going to be a downtown that can handle more traffic, it needs to be set back like that. So that's why we did that, to create a frontage zone. Next slide. And this shows a lot of our landscaping efforts as well, creating these courtyards on 105th and Superior. And even on the back, we wanted to make it a 4-sided building so you can see the courtyards and an entry on the back of the building facing the parking lot, and a sidewalk there, and an alley from like a pedestrian alley from the parking lot to Superior, so people could park, come back onto the front street, and enter the building from the front. Next slide. These show the site plan, or the floor plan. North is to the left. You can see there's a big retail space that's going to be Metro Health's space on at the intersection. And then we have apartment units that are entered like from the street, like townhouses, kind of, or row houses. So there are stoops there. And then a community room with a community terrace connected to the street on the south end of the building. And then the stoop condition wraps the building onto Churchill and is in the back as well. Next slide. These are the upper floors. Next slide. Next slide. So, and in looking at the elevations, we took that red, yellow, blue brick, used it to divide the building up into what would feel more like individual walk-ups or townhouses. To the right is the community terrace and the entrance to the apartments building, which is distinct from the commercial building entrance on the left, which is at the intersection. Next slide. This is the back of the building, so you can see, the continuation of the same architecture on the back. I should note that the front of the building will have brick. This one facade on the back facing the parking lot will use cement fiberboard siding that is color to match the brick. You can see the stoops as well. And here are some of the material palettes. So the blue, red, and yellow brick, we haven't selected a final, but these are the finalists. The railings we'll be using are going to be Chinese Chippendale railings. And so you can see that right there. There'll be gold in the center and bronze on the outside. Next slide. Next slide. We can go to the next slide. So these are some images from the model. Now we have since incorporated some of the design comments from the design review committee, which they were really helpful. This is the view if you're headed north on Superior Avenue, looking at the community terrace and the entrance to the apartment building. And then to the right is Churchill. And you can see the stoops, and then it transitions into a commercial storefront. Next slide. This is the view at 105th and Superior, looking at the main commercial space and then the transition over to a residential condition. Next slide. Close up of the entrance to the apartment lobby. Next slide. And a close up of the at the intersection 105th and Superior and the commercial space. Next slide. Again, just another view of the entrance and then the units to the left. Next slide. And then do we have, Michael, were we able to use the updated one, or is this still oh, this is the update.
This is the updated one.
Okay, so you can see where we started to incorporate some of the comments from design review. So in the space in between the two major portions of the building where we only have like the bronze color coming down to the ground, we've joined windows and changed the window pattern there to make the two parts of the building more distinct from each other. At the top right, you can see we've added like a pergola element to the top terrace there. Next slide. Next slide, because the model views show it better. So you can see we've changed the stoop so that there's a gate that you go through to get to your stoop, and there's the space for the courtyards. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. And then you can see how we've joined, added the pergola at the top. You know, we've added a lot more architecture detail, and we're working on refining those details. But I think we picked up a lot of the suggestions from the design review committee, and the architecture is better for it, as you can see here on this corner. And if you go to the next slide, you can see on this corner as well. And then we do have a rendering that's in progress, so it's not done, but it will help give a feel. And we've worked with RTA and had meetings with RTA to also talk about how bus stops at this intersection potentially could be incorporated onto the sidewalk. So we made sure we designed the building to accommodate those as well. So welcome any questions, comments.
Thank you, Greg. I'm sorry, we're running out of time.
No, I get it.
Are there any other comments from the applicant?
Vice Chair Fluker, I just wanted to make a few comments if that's okay.
Sure.
First of all, this is a master class in site planning, so I hope everyone takes notes. You know, reference multiple master plans or neighborhood plans, you know, did the site planning with historic regard. You did a beautiful job laying out and articulating the design. So I just want to commend you for your site planning efforts. Secondly, I just really want to appreciate that Metro Health is working collaboratively with community partners to invest in the neighborhood. So I just want to say thank you. And finally, I wanted to make note that this originally came for conceptual and it was moved on to schematic at design review. And I believe Kim Scott's on the line. I think this could be ready for schematic review if anyone else wants to comment on that. Or at least I would recommend it move forward for schematic.
Thank you, Director Hall. Any other comments from staff? Planning Commission members? Your pleasure.
I would like to move approval, Mr. Chair, and just also echo the comments about the great thoughtfulness that has been put into this design, and it's so great to have a presentation like this that incorporates all of the different elements, that seeks advice from the local community, that works with other partners like Metro Health and RTA. And I'm just very pleased with this. And I move approval.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can we make clear that it's for schematic design approval?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I got so wrapped up in my thoughts that I am moving approval for schematic design, incorporating the comments from design review.
And I'll second.
I would just like to add comment before we call the roll. I appreciate your thoughtfulness, Greg. This is what architecture is about. It's not about the building. It's about the process. It's about being mindful of history, and you've done a wonderful job. Michael.
Thank you.
Please.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Blythe.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Next
you.
on the docket is item NE 2022-016, Garrett Square Senior Apartments, new construction seeking conceptual approval. Who do we have here on behalf of the applicant?
This is Greg Barron from Commonwealth Development.
Okay,
Can you guys hear me okay?
Okay, I'm gonna swear you guys in. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth for this matter now in hearing under the penalty of perjury?
I do.
Thank you. We have staff comments. Would you like to go with that first, Director?
Sure. Is Kim Scott on the line?
Good morning. I am on the line. I don't have the notes in front of me. So this was presented to the Northeast Region Committee last week, and it was approved conceptually with conditions. And so I'm not sure if you, oh, okay, it's on the screen. And I'm sorry for the background noise. I'm walking into the garage. So the only concerns that are listed is the entry and the access into the project being from the Court Street, and by it being a narrow street, as well as the number of parking spaces and the short or lack of green space or amenity space for the residents. And so those were the concerns that were listed. I think overall, the project is welcomed to the community, being on the border of East Cleveland. And with that, I will wrap up my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. I ask that the applicant be concise. Since this is conceptual approval, we'll see you at least twice. And stick to the comments. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, so as I mentioned, I'm Greg Barron. I'm Vice President of Development for Commonwealth. Commonwealth, we're headquartered in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. However, I'm here local in Northeast Ohio. I previously worked for Detroit Shoreway Community Development for 7 years, CHN Housing Partners, as well as Pearl Developers. So Commonwealth just moved into Northeast Ohio. We opened up our office about 8 months ago. And for this specific project, we are co-owners and partners with Famicos Foundation. We applied for low-income housing tax credits in February of this year. Luckily, we were able to get an award from them. So obviously, that's the biggest piece of financing we need to move this project forward. We've also this week received an award from Cuyahoga County for their affordable housing program. And we are applying for City of Cleveland Housing Trust Fund today. So those are really the major pieces of financing. It's a 49-unit senior development located on the corner of East 125th and Superior. As Ms. Scott mentioned, it's literally the last parcel before you enter into East Cleveland. When we were looking for sites with Famicos, we really viewed this area as a gateway into the City of Cleveland from East Cleveland. Michael, do you have the PowerPoint? Do you have materials that you can bring up? And I can just fly through them real quick.
Yeah, Maurice has it.
Okay. Next slide, keep going. Let's stop right there. I'm sorry, go back to the, that's good. Okay, so as I mentioned, corner 125th and Superior is currently a vacant former daycare center. The property itself was originally constructed as a Rite Aid pharmacy. It's still vacant. There's, you know, honestly right now a lot of crime going in and out of the building. To the west, your picture on the left there, that's a City of Cleveland land bank parcel. We've also communicated with the land bank, so our plan is to acquire that as well. The total site is just under an acre. Next slide, please. Here's a couple of shots of the current parking lots. There's some environmental issues for sure. There was a former dry cleaning facility on the site. As you can see, there were some demolition issues where, you know, years ago, the buildings that were constructed in the early 1900s were literally just thrown into the basements and foundations of the former building. We've done some test pits. So our intention is to, you know, obviously address the environmental issues, but then also soil removal and making sure that everything's clean there. Next slide, please. Here's a shot of the interior. It's pretty much a shell right now. As I mentioned, former Rite Aid pharmacy. Next slide. Here is a map. So as I mentioned, when we were looking for different sites with Famicos, you know, this map really shows University Circle and then the additional development that's going on north of the circle. Our site is up in the upper northeast corner. You know, so we really see ourselves on the cutting edge of moving development north from University Circle. Next slide, please. Here are the preliminary plans. So we, you know, in terms of how far we've gotten, the plans are just schematic at this point. We submitted to OFA in February. We just got our award a few weeks ago. So we're currently, you know, obviously moving through design development. Our intention is to have 80% plans and specs by the end of September for our follow-up OFA submission. Next slide. Next slide. Here's a general site plan. This project does fall within an urban form overlay district. So we're obviously working with Ms. Scott and her team in the planning department to make sure that we hit all the requirements in terms of parking, building design, that sort of thing. Next slide, please. Here's the preliminary landscape plan. You know, as I mentioned, it's a really tight site. It's under an acre. We've taken note of, you know, obviously the feedback that we gotten from Northeast Design Review in terms of access to the site, building materials, that sort of thing. So, you know, obviously as we come back for schematic approval, we'll have addressed those issues. Next slide, please. Ground floor, you know, again, urban form overlay. So we're really shooting for that commercial feel on the ground floor on Superior Avenue. So we have ample community space, a classroom, fitness facility, and then offices for property management staff. The residential units start in the rear, and then obviously on floors 2, 3, and 4, we have residential units. It's a combination of 1 and 2 bedrooms. As I mentioned, it's a senior facility. Here is the south, east, and west elevations. Next slide. Next slide. And you could fly through these. These are more detailed drawings for the schematic sets. And I think, you know, in terms of the plan set, I could pause here. You know, obviously, as I mentioned, we're partnering with Famicos. You know, I know there's a big push. We did consider the 2020 City of Cleveland plan and some of the needs that are met there, as well as the Glenville area plans, specifically affordability, age of residents, housing for seniors. And then there's also a few comments about the land bank program. You know, as I mentioned, we're taking advantage of underutilized land bank property here as well. We held a community meeting on June 22nd. It was in combination with both Famicos community meeting as well as Councilman Kevin Conwell's meeting. We have support from Councilman Conwell as well as Yvonne Conwell from Cuyahoga County. Yeah, and just going through the process, going through the community outreach process, we plan to continue that through September to get feedback on design and welcome any comments from you guys, and we appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I see we have Kim Scott hand up. Kim, would you like to
Yes,
share?
I would, and I apologize. There was an oversight on this, on the coordination of this project, and that is there is an existing building that will have to be demolished because of that. So I don't know how you want to proceed because that information has not been presented yet. Although this is for a conceptual approval, so that would give us time to get that in order. I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim. I would think that one of the commission members could include that as a requirement in the approval here. I would like to, then if there's no further comments, turn this over to the commission.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move approval with the caveat that the structure on the site must be looked at for demolition. And I'm moving for conceptual approval.
And I second McCray Scott.
Okay, roll please.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Blythe.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm a little confused by the Buckeye. On my agenda, I have near West Sheets Service Station next. Is that correct, Michael?
Yeah,
That's correct.
sorry, this is Greg. The Buckeye was showing some comparable affordable housing projects, so that was part of my PowerPoint.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. for the
Good luck.
commission. Yep.
Item number NW 2022-020 Sheets Service Station and Convenience Store, new construction, seeking schematic design approval. Who's here on behalf of the applicant?
I'm on. Ellen Sully.
Okay, I need to swear you in, Ms. Selly. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth for this matter now in hearing under the penalty of perjury?
I do.
Thank you. Proceed, please. And please be brief. We have 11 and a half minutes.
Mr. Fluker, there are other people here as well. Should we all be sworn in?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Councilman Chris Harsh, Ward 13.
Anyone else, please?
I also do, I swear, what you just said.
Okay, sir, I guess I'm going to read it anyway because I'm not sure that holds. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth for this matter now in hearing under the penalty of perjury?
I do.
Thank you. Please proceed. Thank you.
If you just skip to slide 15, we can look at that one and it will show the landscape plan and the site plan. This site is located on the northwest corner of Pearl Road and Brook Park. We've been to the Near West committee and spoke with them about various site plans and orientations. And we have settled on an option a few more slides down. And what we're going to go to is this one here, is this colored landscaping plan. If you go back, yep, this one. This is the orientation we've settled on. It brings the building as close as possible to Brook Park Road and still has really good visibility to the front entrance. It really shows the building well with the pedestrian access. You can see the fuel pumps from both sides, and it's got a really good landscaping plan with it. I don't know if there's too much else you want me to go into on this given the time, but this is the site plan that we've settled on, and we've shown them the renderings and decided at the last meeting that we were going to look some more into maybe some cluster trees along Pearl and just beefing up the landscaping plan a little bit more.
Thank you. Any further comments from the applicant? Do we have any comments from the staff at this time?
Mr. Chair, this is Matt Moss with the Planning Commission. I would just certify that Ellen's testimony was correct, that and the committee's recommendation was schematic approval with an eye towards making sure they submit a really detailed and excellent landscape plan for this site.
Well, I'm glad just seeing from here, not trying to prolong this, I see there's a fair amount of planting opportunities and buffers, so that's a good thing. Planning Commission?
I have a quick question. Will this require a demolition to come before Planning Commission?
Mr. Chair, to Councilman Slife, the building is not in a design review district, so therefore we don't review the demolition of the existing structure on the site.
Interesting. I learned something today. Any further comments or concerns from the commission?
I moved approval.
I second McCray Scott.
Michael, roll, please.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Blythe.
Yes.
That's a sheet. Okay. Next item from Near West is Central Villa 25 building renovation. Who's here from the applicant to represent?
And I just need to recuse myself from this. The foundation has some funding into this project.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Who's here on behalf of the applicant? I need to swear you guys in.
Good morning. This is
with RDL Architects. Believe that God has a
Santana.
as well.
Okay, I heard a lot of voices, so I'm gonna do my darndest to swear you in. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth for this matter now in hearing under the penalty of perjury?
I do.
Okay. Anything from the staff that we might want to share before these guys get going?
Luca, I'm sorry, this is Councilwoman Jasmine Santana. Are we talking about Centro Villa 25 now? I'm sorry.
Yes,
driving.
I'm sorry, Councilwoman, I didn't know you were here. Please proceed.
So could I share my comments now?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm sorry I'm not I can't take my video off, but I'm driving. So just good morning everyone and committee members. Once again, I'm Councilwoman Jasmine Santana representing Ward 14, where Centro Villa will be located. I am just here to show my full support for Centro Villa 25. It is a project that is long overdue and just crucially needed in our area. I have reviewed the updated plan and must say, I was I was excited with the colors and the layout and the vibrancy of the plan. As you all know, Clark Fulton is the heart of the Latino community. Yet we don't have a project solely owned by a Latino organization, nor a place to gather or shop with our families. Centro Villa to me, and I hope you would agree, it's a transformational project for the neighborhood and the city of Cleveland. It's a project that's culturally relevant and will address the food insecurities in our ward by having a specialty grocery store and a teaching kitchen. And oftentimes we talk about job creation, right? And so this project will also create new jobs and provide affordable retail space for businesses that currently does not exist in the ward. I can't tell you how many calls I get from business owners looking for space in the area. And because we don't have retail space, they end up opening their businesses in other ward or just not opening at all. So Centro Villa will create a sense of pride in the Latino community. We need this project. It's long overdue. I mean, even before I was elected, we were meeting and residents repeatedly asked for such project. It is part of the master plan that the city of Cleveland adopted. And so once again, I hope you see the value of this project and I hope that you support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Santana. Who's speaking on behalf of the applicant?
Good morning. This is Janice Contreras, project owner and co-developer. I just want to give you guys just a brief update. I know we're running short on time, so I will do my best to be brief. And I'm also accompanied with RDL Architects, who will run through the presentation. As the councilwoman mentioned, this is a project we've been talking about for over a decade. So this is a really proud moment for us to bring the final project along with securing financing for the project that has been a challenge, which we will be closing on by the end of this year. So very exciting time to finally deliver this to the community. There's been a ton of renditions of this project and reiterations of what's happened. What you will see today is ultimately the full rehab of the current structure that's on the site. But yet, even though we've scaled back the project significantly due to cost and other factors, we are still delivering to the community what we committed to do, which is an outdoor plaza, a commercial kitchen, a specialty grocery store, and affordable retail space for entrepreneurs, along with having 3 organization anchors. We are not your typical project owner or developer, yet it was very important that this project was owned and ran and operated within the Latino community to ensure its integrity and authenticity to what we're delivering here. So it is the most advantageous thing I've done in my career is to take on a project of this scale. Yet again, super proud of the thought and the energy and the years of implementation to, again, deliver a project that we also know sets precedents for the neighborhood and future development. As a member of the Design Review Committee, the Near West Design Review Committee, we talk a lot about, what implications development has. And so just have thought a lot about that and have worked with my team to really consider how this project sets the stage, again, for future development, for possible, design streetscape elements that we would consider in the future. So I will now turn it over to Luis and the RDL team for the presentation. Thank you.
All right, well, we'll get this started, and I'll try to, keep everything as brief as possible, but still kind of moving forward with all the information required. Just some context real quick for the building where we're located at the corner of West 25th and Clark Avenue, about 300 feet from that corner. And we are consolidating a couple of different parcels together to kind of create, help expand our space to accommodate that plaza and some of the parking spaces needed for this project. Next slide, please. Then just we see some of the existing conditions from an aerial perspective. We can also see that there are a couple empty vacant parcels scattered around our project, which we hope that our project ignites some of that development in the local area, being one of the first ones to really grow big in this region. Next slide, please. And then just some historical context on this used to be some sort of automotive use at some point, some garage, and then it became the H.J. Weber building that is currently sitting on the site. It's a CMU building, masonry building with some metal cladding at the moment. You can see some of the Buckeye corridor, what's existing conditions for our facades. Some of the local architecture in the area, and then image number six, you see our existing conditions for our parking. Yeah, right there, the number 6 image. That's our existing conditions for our parking. Next slide. And then we go on Clark Avenue. We see some of the development, some of the kind of flavor of what's happening already in our local area. Next slide. Then we go to a more residential component of this neighborhood. You start seeing the school, you see some vacant residential lots, which could be, which could benefit from our project. Next slide. The site plan, you can see to the west and to the south, we have parking lots that will be developed in some of these parcels. Currently, there are some existing buildings on our parcels that we own, and those will be torn down and replaced with some parking. To the north, you see the plaza that will be an external outdoor component of the interior mercado or market that we are proposing on site. And then we're reactivating Buckeye Fort and Black Fort, which is to the north and to the south of our site. Next slide, please. And then this is just utility plan just for reference. Next slide. Next slide. And we have 3 different site plans based off of the comments from design review. There was some issues with the parking on the southern parking lot, but ultimately we would like to maintain our existing conditions for our parking to the south. As you can see, it's noted there that there is a PRO setback of 40 feet. So you can see how we're kind of addressing West 25th with our current uses, our plaza, our parking, et cetera, et cetera. Currently, right now with this option 1, we are totaling 83 parking spaces with 4 handicaps. Next slide. And this would be an option 2 in the case that is a more in between kind of not going the full 40 feet setback, but then kind of, you know, still maintaining some of our current conditions. A nice in between. Next slide. And then again, this is the full 40 feet setback for the parking lot in the south east corner. You have anything to add on to this, Janice?
I mean, I think one of the predicaments that we have and have had conversations with Matt, as long as with Near West, design reviews related to an existing parking lot that we have on this corner. Currently, this parking lot services 3 existing businesses, so we actually lease out parking spaces because of the need of parking in this area. I know there's a perception that there is a lot of parking in the neighborhood because of the site on the corner of West 25th and Clark, which we're currently tenants of. However, that is a private lot and services that building. So we don't necessarily have access to that lot. We have had conversations about the lot that sits across the street from our property that we don't have control over, yet potential future development and district parking encouragement. So hoping to work with Councilwoman Santana on that along with city planning. However, our intent when we did our site plan was to try to control as much of the traffic on the lots that we already own, to also alleviate the issue of folks crossing on West 25th. While there's still a lot of streetscaping that needs to happen, that is forthcoming and probably won't happen necessarily when our building opens. So we do recognize that there is a PRO, but this is currently a lot and it's been used as a lot. And so our desire is to keep it. The other thing that I would want you to keep in mind in this conversation is related to the plaza that we're building north of this, that is directly adjacent to the bus stop, and a setback that's already there for the West 25th parking lot. So that is really where most of the activity happens around pedestrian use, providing shade, providing greenery. And so we're already investing a ton onto the site of our site. And therefore think that that is an adequate request for us to be able to maintain the lot as it exists currently, with the addition, obviously, of landscaping and updating the fencing, decorative fencing. That parking lot also has a billboard space that we will rehab into a community board in the future. So there is some level of programming, even though it's a parking lot. We're maximizing what we're using in that space. And then lastly, just the cost considerations. This project has been through a lot on trying to raise the necessary resources. And so I am of the view that it would have very limited use, considering that we have a plaza to create green space. Asking us to create an additional green space is a little extensive on the project. However, we recognize that there is a PRO and want to do right by the project, but definitely, these are unique circumstances that I would like this committee to consider.
Denise? And then just moving forward, we see just a quick glance of the renderings that were developed with the color variations. A lot of these colors were inspired by Latino and Hispanic cultures, different places such as Puerto Rico, Mexico, just any Central American, country. You go to a lot of those cities, you see a lot of vibrancy in a lot of downtown areas. And so we wanted to bring some of that here, knowing that this is a historically Latino neighborhood. So we go to the next slide. Now you start seeing some of those kind of traditional kind of murals that we are proposing on the north side, on the west side. When you see, you start seeing some of those colors again translate over, across the building. And you start seeing our plaza here, which is going to be more of a traditional kind of plaza, something you would see in those Latin American, Hispanic culture cities. And then just some inspirational images that we got for some of these. And, we got inspiration also from architects like Luis Barragan and the Barragan House, his use of different colors and the architecture that he implemented. Next slide. This is from those two parking lots that we were just talking about, looking at the south facade of our building. We see some of the ornamental friezes on the top of the building, some of those very kind of abstract geometric shapes that kind of start getting implemented. Again, the Luis Barragan House, some inspirational images there again. Next slide. And then just kind of highlighting some of the comments that were brought up at design review a couple of weeks back. The trim had to change color a little bit so it doesn't get as dirty by this busy West 25th street. And then the storefronts went from being white to being a black color now. So now it hides a lot of that, that whole issue. The facade getting dirty now is no longer much of an issue. I mean, we would still have to maintain that, but it limits that. Next slide. Then just some facades again, just kind of showing those renderings and as a whole. Next slide. That's the north facade facing the plaza, and then you can see what extent we're proposing that mural to be. Next slide. Again, that's the west end facing the parking lot, and the parking lot would be adjacent to that entry for the grocer, so there wouldn't be too much travel between parking to the grocery store that would be there. Next slide. And then again, secondary entrances to our Mercado and our kitchen facing those southern parking lots. Next slide. And just overall highlighting of our materials that we are proposing. The white trim might be used in other places that are not facing the busier streets, and then are kind of tannish buff color is being used in the more busier sides of our streets. Next slide. And then just a section cut of how our building starts to kind of relate from east to west, that West 25th, and then the more stationary parking lot. Next slide. You see that the Mercado actually spans the whole entirety of our building, from the southern parking lots all the way to the northern outdoor plaza. Next slide. And just our programming that we are proposing and where they're located based on what we just talked about, to the right side or the east, that would be West 25th, and then to the west, to the left, would be our parking lot. Spans from north to west, or north to south, connecting the parking and the plaza. And just everything just kind of builds off of that Mercado building. The Mercado program becomes kind of this thing that holds everything together. Next slide. And then we do have a second story, which will be dedicated for office use. Next slide. And finally, we're kind of quick highlight of the type of landscaping we're proposing, where we're proposing that landscaping. Next slide, we can see a zoom in of our plaza. And you can start seeing how the patterns on the concrete start to kind of echo what's on the architecture of the building. Just the overall layout of it is a very traditional layout for what you would see in any Latin American country. Next slide. Just some of those amenities on the landscape. Some of those include, colorful furniture for people to sit at, eat outside, be an extension of the Mercado building or that restaurant component. Some decorative fencing that would be scattered around the fencing, either in the patio space or any of the fencing that along the street facing West 25th. Some bike racks scattered around that kind of starts to echo some of the circular elements on our facades. And then some permeable pavers will be introduced. Hopefully, it's in the plaza and maybe in some of the parking lots also as well. And that concludes this presentation.
Thank you. Just like to say to Janice, congratulations. I know that it's been a long road for you.
Yes, thank you.
Any staff comments?
Chair Fluker, this is Director Huang. I'll keep my comments brief. I am really excited about this project, been following it for a long time and glad to see it moving forward. There is a PRO on that parking lot as discussed. And however, I will point out that also the 25 Connects plan does call to reduce parking along West 25th Street. However, I'm ready to recommend this move forward with schematic approval on the condition that the applicant works with the staff on the PRO issue offline.
Yeah, I would just like to add one thing because I don't want to belabor this, but I think there's opportunities throughout the city to look at potentially how the city of Cleveland can partner and create district parking that serve more than just a business, but be more intentional about that.
I believe the staff, Matt Moss, has looked into this issue, so TBD on that. Is that accurate, Matt?
Yes, district parking has been something we've not only discussed at the design review committee oftentimes when reviewing projects on West 25th, but also during the Clark Fulton Together planning process and as part of it's a recommendation in the plan, the 25 Connects plan. So even directly across from the site, there's land bank land that's always been viewed as an opportunity to create more district parking. But a priority of the plan of 25 Connects is to really improve the pedestrian roam along West 25th. And so I think that requires us to seriously consider and defer to the codes that we have in place that require that.
Thanks, Mr. Moss. Well, I'm going to close that portion and ask if there's any comments on the commission.
I move approval for schematic design incorporating the comments from design review.
And I second McCray Scott.
Michael, could you call the roll, please?
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Hall.
I believe she's gone.
She's gone. Okay. Slife.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, next up, we have special presentations under public art. Tovasic Recreation Center Public Art seeking final approval. I believe Councilman, where is he? Is there anyone from Councilman Polensik's office here that would like to speak on behalf first?
This is Director Huang. I'm going to play the role of Tara today.
Okay.
With regard to public art. And I'll note that these next two presentations go together. So we'll review the next two agenda items together as one. If I may, I can provide those comments now. For the Kovacic Recreation Center Public Art, which is an interior public art installation pursuant to the Public Art Committee Code, we have to bring it to the commission for approval. We were able to creatively work through the community engagement process through COVID by providing context of the vision and creating a Dropbox for community residents to submit photos to for this project, some of which were incorporated into the works. The cement relief style is a first of its kind in public artwork through the public art program. So that's for this first project, and I can add my comments for the second one after this. If I may encourage you to move quickly as fast as you may. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Director Wong. This is Vince Reddy of Land Studio, and we'll just quickly go into the artwork for Kovacic. I'm here today with Chelsea Moore and David Falter. Chelsea is David's agent. David is the artist. If we could go back a little bit, I do want to take a couple minutes just to describe, just to give you some context. This is these are actually some older pictures. The Kovacic Rec Center, renovated Kovacic Rec Center, is now in business. It's a beautifully transformed building. We've worked a lot with city architect Mark Dulick, who's, I think, very justly proud of what has been done at Kovacic. Kovacic, as you may know, is a adaptive reuse project from a long time ago. It was a public bathhouse converted into a public recreation center. It had fallen into disrepair and has now been transformed into really a state-of-the-art center. This wall, you see this brick wall when you come into the building. It's the main thing you see from the main entrance on St. Clair. And as Director Wong explained, this will be the first type of this kind of art in Cleveland, at least through the public art program. And we're very happy to have the artist, David Falter, also known as the artist Default, and Chelsea, his agent, with us here today. So let's, if we could go to the next, go through some slides, and then just the lighting fixtures here, I think show you the attention to detail that went into the renovation of the center. And this is the wall where there's actually a couple of walls where the artwork is going to be. So I'm going to turn it over to the artist and Ms. Moore to add anything. And I think if we'll hit on a slide pretty soon. Maybe we'll start here.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Chelsea and this is David, the artist. So we're going to keep it super brief. Are we able to share our own PowerPoint here? Is that possible?
No, I'm sorry, Chelsea. It has to be just what we have.
Okay. So the materials that we're speccing are a cement material, which is the Buddy Rhodes GFRC mix. It's a lightweight concrete. Oh, you already have all this. This is great. Okay. Mm-hmm. So it's a lightweight concrete, and we're also using some PVC in certain areas. So the reddish areas that you see are actually the relief areas. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That is correct. Okay. So that is where the remaining brick will show through. We wanted to maintain some of the historical aspect of the property. And then what you see up top will actually be some PVC grid work, topographical maps of the local area. And those will be installed using wall spacers, and they'll come out about an inch from the wall. And these are all imagery from the community that people submitted that we were able to utilize within the design. So we kind of fused the community into David's overall design schematic. And then this is the other wall where the second piece of art will be installed. And please take note, and this is the other area, and this is all, redone gray, and it's actually a different material from the brick. The PVC, the orange PVC will only be up top, and then due to people potentially climbing on it, safety liability issues, the bottom will actually still be a maintained concrete, and we will just paint that the same color as the PVC. So you can actually go to the next slide. And so so we actually also had the color selected was the same color of the building.
I think that might be the next slide. It might still be.
Okay.
Maybe not. No, I'm sorry. I think that one was removed. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So in maintaining with the overall aesthetic plan that the designers had, and for ease of maintenance, we chose the Invigorate orange, and that way any touch-ups or anything necessary needed to be done to the concrete or the PVC can be done locally. The work is also going to be covered with SECA, which is an adherence. So to make sure that the concrete and, stays in place and is ensured that it will not move to decrease safety and liability. We also had our own personal structural engineer that I work with for a multitude of projects sign off on this. So just know that it is considered structurally sound and it has been stamped off on. So that is pretty much it as far as we go, keeping it short and sweet. Please, do you want to say anything, David?
I think you got everything down.
Yeah, so that's pretty much the artwork that we're planning to go in, and upon approval, it should be completed the first week of August.
I move approval.
I'll second.
Michael, please call the roll.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry. She's not present. McCray Scott,
Yes.
Life.
Yes.
And I apologize. It's not Councilman Polensic's ward. I don't know why I call this name. So next item, another public art presentation, the City Kennel Public Art on 9203 Detroit Avenue. Who's here? Looks like Vince is here again.
Yes.
Anyone-
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Fluker. I'm here again representing Tara on this project, along with Director Wong. And this is artwork at the Cleveland Kennel, which we've been working on for years, and including one really well-known and beloved artist who we tried to work with on this project, and it didn't work out. So it went out again. This is, as you may know, the location of the new kennel, which not to sound sycophantic, but is an amazing accomplishment, I think, of the city of Cleveland. This is a view from the front, and I want to keep this slide up for a second. You see the sign in front, it's on that concrete stand. It's very simple and understated. It just says Kennel, City of Cleveland. And I like it because it doesn't overstate anything. And I feel like, anyone who's familiar with the kennel know it's a very well-run organization. Dogs that come here are, for the most part, lucky to come through the kennel. Working with a very professional, skilled staff and a large cadre of volunteers, and with many partner organizations, it's a very impressive operation. So if we could go to the next slide. The artist, by the way, is Stephen Gutierrez, a Greater Cleveland artist who's been working to get in. If we go back one slide, I'm sorry. Okay, well, we'll just keep it this one and make it short, like I know you need to have. This is one of the artworks. These are like pitties playing Frisbee, and it's really the title of the artwork. I don't think Stephen is able to be with us today, is Happy Dogs. And, and this is not merely aspirational, as I've implied. I feel like the kennel is a very accomplished organization, and through its City Dogs Cleveland program. And these, for example, the artist working with kennel staff and volunteers, these dogs originally looked like greyhounds, but now they look like pit bulls to match the kennel's main sort of prevailing demographic. If we go to the next slide. Now there's some other artworks that'll be part of the project too, and these are much more conventional and maybe a bit hackneyed, but I think very, if we go to the next one, and these are, these will be positioned out on the grounds behind the center, and this is where volunteers walk the dogs, and these are, if we go to the next slide, please, to show you the detail. The next one after this, maybe. Okay, and these will be dog bone shaped shelters where the volunteers can sit and rest with the dogs when they're outside. There's really no shelter out there now. In the dog bone shape, I think is appealing just because, even though it's kind of predictable, it represents normalcy, and and a goal for the dogs housed at the kennel is for them to be able to have normal lives. And so these two will be made with plexiglass, recycled plastic on concrete bases. And if we could go back one to the, to the Happy Dogs. These will be mostly made of stainless steel and will be perched on the sign. And I think the happiness of these dogs is something that the kennel has a right to claim. It's not merely something that it's aspiring to. And so I can answer any questions. We don't have the artist with us today. I'm sorry, but as I said, he's been working very hard to participate in the public art program. And I think, this has the potential to be one of the best artworks ever produced by the program.
This is very nice. I wish someone could make a barbecue grill a shelter for me in my backyard. As opposed
Well, I don't even want to go there. I don't think.
I
so.
know I'm, being a little bit tongue in cheek, but are there any comments from staff or?
I move approval, Downing. Very cute.
I second McCray Scott.
Michael, roll please.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Blythe.
Yes.
What's next?
We have
Okay.
we have two more. I will play Tara. This is the CPL South. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chair.
No, go ahead. Take it away.
Oh, you should read the number though.
Oh, I'm sorry. This
Why
is
jump
a
in?
public art item NW 2022-023, South Brooklyn Branch rotating murals, seeking final approval. Director?
Yes, this was unanimously approved at Northwest Design Review. Tara has agreed with the group that this location be treated the same as the Cafe Art Wall in Public Square with a rotating series of mural works. I think it's a really great opportunity to incorporate more public art into an underserved area. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Erin Guido here from Land Studio, and also my coworker Nancy Boylan's here as well as Aaron Mason from the library, and Vince Reddy is here from Land as well, who works on this project as well. So we're really excited about the opportunity to install another one of these rotating artwork sites. We would install it, as Director Wong mentioned, in a similar manner to Public Square, as well as the new rotating mural that we installed at the Harvard Lee branch. And so the structure holds a really taut vinyl, so it's rotating. The first artist that we're suggesting for this location and the design is a local artist, Andrew Reach, and this is the artwork he's created for the location. And for the schedule of the rotation, we are suggesting that it changes out every year unless there's a special circumstance or special program that the library wants to change it out more often. But the plan would be it changes out every year because we're using some funding from the See Also program at the library that will allow this to happen. So I'm trying to go really fast. I think I missed some details, but I can answer any questions. This is at the corner on Pearl Road, and the face that this mural is installed on is a large brick wall where through planning processes residents have wanted something on this location for a while, and that's why after Harvard Lee, the Cleveland Public Library chose this location for another rotating art opportunity. And just one more thing, that we love the idea of these rotating artworks because it gives the opportunity for artists, especially local, doesn't have to be local, but we have been focusing on local artists, the opportunity to do public art if they haven't before, because they have to hand over a digital file rather than painting their own mural themselves. So it's kind of like the first opportunity of really scaling up your art to kind of test out being a public artist, which we really love as well.
Thank you. I appreciate it. This is a lovely mural. Commission members?
I move approval, Downing.
I second McCray Scott.
Michael, roll please.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Blythe.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I think we're approaching the last item here. It's item number DF 2022-038, Lone Sailor Monument, seeking schematic design approval. Who do we have here from the applicant?
Jody McHugh with AECom and Christian Lynn with AECom, as well as Diane Tomer.
Michael, do I have to swear these guys in?
Chairman, we normally do not do that for public art projects.
Okay, oh, this is still public art, is it? Okay, good enough. Any staff comments on this one, Director?
Sure, I would be happy to provide some context. So multiple city staff have reviewed this project, including planning, capital projects, as well as the airport, because this does fall in a runway protection zone. There's general approval of the project. The areas of concern expressed during that site were making sure the site is still able to accommodate the existing programming with the proposed changes to the green space, and those attending events, this is on North Coast Harbor, would need to be respectful of the artwork during events that may sometimes include, this is Tara's words, wilder spirited behaviors from some. I believe people will respect it, especially those serving in or having served in the military, but I wanted to make sure that that was acknowledged. John Fassbender is here from Capital Projects, so I'll let him comment, but the airport staff did want to share that it is in a runway protection zone with Burke Airport there. However, we feel that because exceptions were made for Nuevo Restaurant, the volleyball courts, and its height, that it's reasonable to move forward. John, did you have any additional comments?
Hearing none, we'll turn it over to the applicant.
All right, thank you. I'm going to let Diane Tomer speak to the larger context of the project briefly.
Great, thank you. So the Lone Sailor Monument is part of a bigger entity and sponsored by the USS Cleveland Legacy Foundation. This is a foundation that was formed in 2019 after the US Navy announced that a ship would be named in honor of Cleveland. A group of volunteers got together and formed a 501c3 with a board and honorary boards with 3 phases in place. And the first phase is to prepare for the commissioning of the USS Cleveland, which will be in the fall of 2024, take care of its crew while it's at service, and then bring back the USS Cleveland at the end of its service as a museum. While we're doing this, there is an educational component that we're working with the CMSD schools, and then also workforce development. So this is the launching, I think, for the city of Cleveland to recognize the importance of our city being recognized and honoring the USS Cleveland and its service.
Thanks, Diane. So the other context is the sculpture is located in 18 additional places within the U.S. and abroad. I'm sorry, 17, and we're going to be the 18th installation of it. And it is a sailor statue as well as his bag, so it's a 2-piece unit. And it's typically set in a plaza space where enlistment ceremonies could be have given around it. And then there is also usually donor recognition. In the bottom middle, you can see some plaques behind that tells about the sculpture and then recognizes the donors. Next slide, please. So with the anticipation that when the ship is retired, it would be in North Coast Harbor as a museum, the natural location was to look at the harbor to put the sculpture itself. So we're looking at the northern triangle of the existing amphitheater space, and the dashed line would be the limits of the work for that. And the sculpture in the plaza area would be in the top corner, and we are proposing accessible walkways that would reach it from each side with a symmetrical design. Currently on the long side of the triangle, there is about a 18 to 24 inch high seat wall. We would be breaking that seat wall in 2 places and turning the existing blocks to create an opening. We are also taking the top row of the amphitheater. The shorter sides of the triangle have stepped amphitheater walls that raise up, so the space at the corner is higher than the long side. So if you're taking that material, and that would be consistent with material they use for the turning for the openings. And then we would have 2 accessible walkways with exposed aggregate concrete coming up to the plaza space, which is about a 40 by 40 area. Contextually, wanted to have a connection between the water as well as the view back to the city to recognize when you're with that sculpture that you know you're in Cleveland. So there's a strong sight line. That sculpture is centered on the circular space, raised up on a 8-inch high pedestal. The sculpture itself is about 7 feet tall. We want people to be able to get close to it, so the plaza space is all level, besides from the raised up sculpture pedestal, so you can take pictures with it. And then we have a contrasting black and white pattern with the paving material, kind of contrasting the white of the walls. And then on the south side of the plaza space, there's a donor wall. There's 4 larger plaques that recognize the sculpture and tell about it, and then 2 of them are donor plaques, and then the middle portion will be a series of hundreds probably of smaller donor plaques on a raised wall. Landscaping's on the outside of the wall. The sculpture will be lit at night with uplights from the pavement, and then the walkways would have bollard lights on the sides. And then we did cut some sections. You can see the plaques on the top elevation, the larger plaques, and then the smaller plaques would be on the lower wall in the central portion, keeping the view to the city open. And then go back really quickly to the slide previous, please. We do have a flagpole, and regarding the airport restrictions, we are under, even with the flagpole, under the 35-foot height restriction there. So the next slide shows some of the amenities. We are introducing a kiosk at the closest entrance to the space by the restaurant side, which would share information about the USS Cleveland. And then there's the benches, as well as different application of the plaques, but you can see what they look like. And then the last portion are some renderings, existing space, and then the proposed elements. Existing space, and then looking back at the city.
It was, I would just add, it was an important part of the design process and what the vision was to create a visually prominent location that was, gave you good visual connection both to and from the plaza area. And so this is really an ideal location to accomplish that. And even people who aren't familiar with the Lone Sailor kind of have a visual cue or a visual beacon to kind of curiosity to bring them up to this space and learn about it. And the kiosk kind of down along the main cross-cutting path in Buena Vista Park will also be kind of an enticing element to educate people and then ultimately draw them up here.
And we have tried to keep the plaza space as far into the corner as we can, being mindful of the other programming that happens in the area. But we do want to be able to keep that visual, so if someone wanted to take a picture with the sculpture, you would be able to encompass the city skyline in the background as well.
Thank you. This is exciting to be one of 18 locations. Commission members?
I move approval. Downing.
I second. Scott.
Roll call, please, Michael.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Schleif.
Yes.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That sort of concludes the business for the day. I think we may have a director's report.
That's correct, and I appreciate all of you staying on for the many agenda items. I think the few items I wanted to raise is that our BZA signs and posters are now ready for print. We've gotten through our bid process at City Hall, so you'll see these out at the zoning locations for cases that are going to the Board of Zoning Appeals. We're going to pilot this out and see how it goes, and then maybe perhaps apply it to rezonings in the future and other applications. So look for these out on the street. This will be in addition to the letters that we send out for BZA. Next slide. 2 announcements to the public is that our parklets and temporary outdoor dining has been live for a few weeks now. So if you would like to apply for right-of-way space for a temporary pop-up in a parking spot until November 1st of this year, please use this QR code if you are in front of a screen or monitor. We have a group set up to review these weekly and are aiming to get these approved administratively as quickly as possible. And the administration is also working on a permanent policy for the following years. We believe that 85% of the parklet requests will not require Jersey concrete barriers. So, we will work with you on that if it is required. And I just want to say that aloud to the public. Secondly, we've been working on decorative crosswalks, I should say crosswalks, with regard to resident-led initiatives. We have changed our policy, and there will be a webinar coming up later this month in July to allow members of the public to apply to decorate your crosswalks and bump outs on local streets with any colors. And then, there are color considerations for anything that are FHWA streets. This is an update for People's Streets, which came to the Planning Commission last year. So this is just a great update of again, resident and CDC and city-led collaborative effort to utilize NUACA street supplies and pop up bike assets on the street on Payne Avenue in advance of its future permanent assets. And you'll see that folks on the right photo have been using bikes already with these, separators, which is just fantastic. So many thanks to our volunteers who helped to install this week, and go check it out on Payne Avenue. Just some quick staffing updates. I want to say congratulations to Adam Davenport, who we have selected as our chief city planner, our neighborhood section lead, who will oversee the 6 district city planners. So huge round of applause for Adam. And he is replacing Marka, and Marka is, of course, the assistant director of the department. So it's great to see Carl Brunges, who many of you know was a senior assistant city planner and has been promoted into the city planner role at Landmarks Commission, and we're excited about that as well. And we'll be hiring a senior assistant urban planner in Landmarks. That job will be out next week. And then we've also hired a few new folks. Waverly Bowens, the assistant administrator for the Board of Building Standards and Building Appeals, which addresses building code appeals. And then finally, we have hired a project coordinator for urban design and architecture to be the section lead. And that would be Allison Henney, which we are extremely excited about to have more staff in place. We will have city planner jobs out on the street in the next month. Please be looking for them. And that's pretty much it from my end. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Well, you guys, I need to pack up a car and get on the road. So enjoy your weekend.
Apples, August.
Great.
I can't wait, man. I'm gonna test a new smoker.
It's awesome. Enjoy, everybody. Thank you, and have a great long weekend holiday.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.